Hey y'all, it's Chris with Rockin Farm, and can I just tell y'all, I am way behind on like everything that I need to do regarding my farm. I need to trellis things in my garden. I need to get my little chickens out on pasture. I need to get these pigs behind me moved to a new pasture. And I'm also super late on pruning my fruit trees. I had someone ask me a while back how things were going in my orchard, especially after the big freeze and the very low temperatures that we had for Central Texas a few months ago. So I'm gonna kind of combine hey, here's my fruit trees and this is how you should prune them video. Now, I should have pruned these fruit trees probably 3 months ago, but that's when we were in the middle of the freeze. So another really good time to prune them would have been when they were flowering, and we're well past that as well. But whether I'm late or not doesn't really matter. This is something that's got to happen, so we're gonna get it done. So we are gonna take a little mini orchard tour, and we're gonna talk about the whys and hows of pruning fruit trees. Before we jump into that, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and don't forget to go check out the website, rockin8farm.com. So the whys of pruning fruit trees is really pretty easy. It's just overall health of the tree. It's no different than cutting your hair, or in my case, trimming your beard, to get rid of split ends and dead ends and all of the stuff that just makes your hair unhealthy. So it helps in removing dead material, diseased material, that could potentially spread. It also helps to open up airflow. One of the big reasons that I like to prune too is because plants are going to dedicate their energy to what they have going on them. So by removing some of the branches that you don't want, your tree's going to put energy into the branches that you left. So right here behind me is a tree that needs a lot of work. The first thing that I'm going to do, and that you're going to see me do, is remove what is called the suckers. These are generally branches that are growing off the rootstock, so they're not going to produce anything that you ever want them to produce anyhow. What they are doing though is sucking energy away from the tree. So I'm going to remove all the suckers first, and then we'll talk about what I do next. All right, so that's everything that's growing out of the bottom of the tree, but all of these low-lying branches, I don't really want these here either. So what I'm going to look for next is I'm going to look for branches that are either going into the tree or that are crossing other branches, or anything that's growing downwards. You want your tree to have a nice upright structure, and you want a lot of air to be able to come through the tree. So we've got kind of a tangled mess in here. You can see I've got a branch here, but there's another one that's coming in right behind it that kind of crosses it and makes a mess. So we're just going to open this tree up a little bit. Here's some dead material. All right, here's a really good example of what we don't want. You can see that this branch right here is growing from the inside of the tree, and it's trying to grow out, but it's rubbing on this main branch right here. So this whole thing has got to come out. Here's some good examples of branches that are growing in. These will eventually become big branches, and we don't want them growing in towards the tree. So what I ended up doing was trimming off everything that was below this first big notch, and then trimming off everything that was growing in or that was dead. You can see now that this tree is a lot more open and has a lot more airflow. There's no growth on this tree except for what's coming out of the root stock. So over here we have one of my trees that was hit really hard by the frost. All of the growth that's coming out of the tree is coming out of the rootstock. And if you look higher up on the tree here, still some life. See that right there? That's green wood. So this apricot tree, I'm just gonna leave it alone from now, and we're just gonna see what it does and see if it wants to come back. So as you can see, the name of the game is really just open and airy. Nothing's crossing. Any branches that have very sharp, acute angles, those are weak branches that are probably going to break someday anyhow. Nothing's growing downward, nothing's growing back in towards the tree, and it just opens up the entire tree so more sunlight and more air can get through. And that's really going to help to prevent disease. So I know this wasn't super informational. I was just trying to get some work done. I hope I gave you a little bit of info on trimming your fruit trees. Keep in mind, I am trimming my fruit trees very, very, very late. Late winter is probably the best time to trim them. If you're not sure what to trim, you can wait until those buds break. And then the branches that have way too many flowers on it, and I know it's heartbreaking, but you'll want to cut those branches off so that the flowers are spread very proportionally throughout the tree, because that means that your fruit will be spread very proportionally throughout the tree, and hopefully you won't lose too many branches to heavy fruit. Now, we had a couple of little baby peaches. I took off one branch that had an apple on it, and this apple tree is actually about the age that it can start producing for me. So whether or not we're going to get any fruit this year, I don't know, but we worked on the pruning and the overall health of the trees, which I've been bad about in the past, and I almost missed again this year. We will work on fertilizing these trees, and hopefully before long, we'll be getting a good fruit harvest out of these trees. I'm really surprised that I saw one little apple, and I'm kind of bummed out that I cut it off. These are a tree that requires a pollinator tree, and my pollinator trees ended up coming into flower and leaf about a month behind these because they're smaller and they got hit harder by that frost. So all of my apple trees made it, but they didn't all bloom at the same time. So I'm not going to get any apples off any of my apple trees this year. And my peach trees are all too little, so I need to keep plucking all the peaches off of those trees to make sure that the energy is going down into the roots. All in all, the orchard didn't fare too badly. I have one tree that was a total loss, had to rip it out. I had another tree that I'm going to wait and see what it does. And then I had a third tree that now it's a stubby little guy, but I was able to save it. Other than that, the rest of the orchard fared well through the frost, and we look forward to getting some fruit in future years, although it's probably not going to happen this year. Now, I am by no means a pruning expert. There are a lot of videos out there that can give you a lot more detail on pruning, but I do happen to know a few pruning experts. So if you have any pruning questions, feel free to shoot me an email. Feel free to drop some comments down in the comment section, and I will make sure that I get your pruning questions answered. Now, this is just one task that I was way behind on. I need to get that grape vineyard tackled and pruned as well. And I've got to get these chickens out on pasture, y'all. Not to mention all the stuff that's going on in the garden. So with that said, I'm losing light, but I better get back to work. This has been Chris with Rockin' Farm, and until I see y'all again, be happy and live healthy.